Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. My name is Donnie Green. I'm with the North Central Texas Council of Governments, and it is my pleasure to co-present with Robin LeoGrande, who is with the Community for Permanent Supported Housing. And during this morning's presentation, you'll hear more about the work that's been done by Robin and the Community for Permanent Supported Housing. Marty, did you want to share any housekeeping remarks about CEUs before we get into the content of the presentation?
Yes, that's the next slide, please.
Okay.
Yes. And good morning, everybody. For those of you that are joining us looking for CEUs or looking for a certificate of attendance, we're offering both today. Both are good for 1 hour of CEU credits. Just so you know, we are set up with the state of Texas for licensed social workers and licensed professional counselors. You're more than welcome, if you have a different license in Texas or you have a license outside of Texas, to go through the process, get a certificate, submit it to your jurisdiction. But just so you know, there's no guarantee that they're going to take it. I've heard a lot of them do, but there's no guarantee of that. So I just want to let you know that up front. In order to qualify, you must attend the entire live webinar. You must complete the Google evaluation survey. That should pop up as you close out of Zoom today. If it does not, for some reason, I realize a lot of companies have pop-up blockers. You will also receive that in a follow-up email from me later today. We're asking everyone to complete the survey if you would, even if you're not looking for a certificate. This helps us to report back on the objectives we set forth when we applied for the funding to put together these webinars. The Google evaluation survey will be up for 1 week from today. And then please give me about 2 weeks after that to get the certificates out to you. And if you don't receive them by then, feel free to email me and we'll check into that. Donnie, I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
Fantastic. So just providing you a little bit of background, I'm with the North Central Texas Council of Governments. I've been with the agency for, I guess this is my 27th year. And much of the information that I'll be sharing this morning is fairly specific to the North Central Texas Area Agency on Aging. In just a couple of minutes, I'll show you our service area. I'm delighted that we have folks from throughout the state and, in fact, from other states as well. But just truth in advertising, be aware that the services that are available in your community, if you're outside the North Central Texas area, are likely to vary. So without further ado, let me provide an overview of area agencies on aging. The area agencies on aging, or our AAAs, which are separate and apart from the kind people who jump your car when your battery dies. They were formed by the Older Americans Act of 1965, and there are over 660 AAAs nationwide. They cover all of the U.S. and its territories as well. The funding comes from both the federal government, through the U.S. administration, through the U.S. Health and Human Services Administration, through the Community for Community Living. And then the state governments also contribute to these services as well. It's important to keep in mind that services through the area agencies on aging are not means tested. So most of the services that are funded by the state of Texas are means tested. People have to have incomes below a certain threshold. Heaven forbid that they're $1 over. They don't qualify. Many of the services, Medicaid, community attendance services, also have resource limits. The services through the area agencies on aging are different in that we don't have strict income limits or resource limits, but at the same time, the Older Americans Act does require that we give priority to certain groups of older adults and family caregivers. And in general, those groups would include people with greatest economic need, So even though we don't means test, we do give priority for certain services to people with limited incomes. We also give priority for certain services to people who are experiencing social need. So in many cases, that's an older person or a caregiver who is trying to take care of things on her own. We also give priority to those who are frail, those who are at risk of premature institutionalization, whether that's being in a nursing home or a group home or a state-supported living center. We also give priority to people who are experiencing Alzheimer's or related dementias. We are asked to come up with targeting strategies for people who live in rural communities. And we're also asked to target people with limited English proficiency. So kind of keep that in mind as we start talking about the case management services in particular. Those tend to be the services where we have much more demand than we can accommodate. And with the case management programs, that's where we and other area agencies on aging would apply our targeting criteria. It's important to keep in mind that all services provided by the Area Agency on Aging or its many partners, including Community for Permanent Supported Housing, must be provided at no charge to those who qualify. So we and our partners can accept voluntary contributions, but if somebody can't make a contribution or doesn't want to make a contribution, we're prohibited from declining services because of that reason. The AAA network, so even though the network covers the entire country, one of the key points is services vary significantly at the state level as well as the regional level. One of the things that we're asked to do as an area agency on aging is develop a strategic plan. And through that plan, there's certain services that the state tells us we must provide. There are many other services that the state allows us to provide. And on the basis of that needs assessment, we can kind of pick and choose from the optional services. We have discretion to determine our targeting criteria. So as I was looking at where people are joining us from, I saw folks from Dallas County and Tarrant County and West Texas and South Texas. And again, in those communities, you will see services that are different from the services that I'll be describing through the North Central Texas Area Agency on Aging. So let me define our service area for you. This is a map of the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area, and you can see that Tarrant and Dallas County in the middle, they're shaded in gray. Those two counties are not served by our Area Agency on Aging. Each has its own AAA. In Tarrant County, the Area Agency on Aging is administered by the United Way of Tarrant County. In Dallas County, the programs are administered by the Community Council of Greater Dallas. Grayson County would be through the Texoma Area Agency on Aging, and so on. So again, these kinds of services should be available in your community. But again, if you're from beyond one of those 14 counties on this map that appear in white, just keep in mind that your local services will be a little bit different. There are two major categories of services that can be made available through the Older Americans Act. And the legacy services are those services for older adults. And in the legislation, the Older Americans Act defines older adults as people aged 60 and over. It's only been within the last maybe 20 years that area agencies on aging have had the ability to provide services for family caregivers. And in 2001, there were extensive amendments to the Older Americans Act that created services for caregivers and allocated funding that could be used to serve caregivers. And then it's only been maybe within the last 5 years or so that further amendments have been made, giving area agencies on aging greater latitude to serve family caregivers. So through the Older Americans Act caregiver programs, area agencies on aging can provide services to people of any age who care for a person age 60 and older, those caregivers of older adults. Area agencies on aging can also provide services to people of any age who care for a person of any age with dementia, even if the person with dementia and the caregiver are under the age of 60. We have the ability to provide supports to people who are at least 55 years old and who care for a young adult. And when I say young, I mean under the age of 60, who has severe disabilities. And just for clarity, let me define what our federal agency considers severe disabilities. So severe disabilities are defined as mental or physical impairment or a combination of mental and physical impairments that are likely to continue indefinitely and result in substantial functional limitation in 3 or more major life activities, including self-care, receptive and expressive language, mobility, self-direction, capacity for independent living, economic self-sufficiency, cognitive functioning, and emotional adjustment. So when we get a call from a caregiver, we'll ask a series of questions to determine whether the caregiver is age eligible, and then we'll also gather some information about the care receiver's condition to see if we can get them qualified through the service category. We also have the ability to help people who are at least 55 years old who have primary custody of minors. And typically, this is a program where we would be assisting grandparents who are raising grandchildren, but it's not necessarily limited to grandparents. So if there's an aunt who is raising her minor niece and nephew, we could provide services if that aunt is at least 55 years old. In the old days, we would call these grandparents services, but again, we do have ability to serve relatives beyond grandparents. We just can't assist parents who are at least 55 and caring for their minor grandchildren. So I know that gets a little complicated, but when folks call in, again, we just ask a series of questions to determine if we can get them qualified through these categories of eligible family caregivers. So before I move into a conversation about Area Agency on Aging services for grandparents, let me just provide a little bit of context in case some of you are not familiar with Area Agencies on Aging and kind of our core services for older adults. So these services would be available to people aged 60 and over. The services that we are required to provide in the state of Texas include information and referral, meals, both home delivered and congregate meals. Transportation is not a service that the state requires that we fund, but in North Central, we choose to do that. Benefits counseling is a required service in the state of Texas. Case management is a required service. All of us are required to do preventive health workshops. All of us are required to provide long-term care ombudsman services. And again, if you're not familiar with Area Agencies on Aging, benefits counseling is a service that helps people understand their public benefits. First and foremost, and benefits counselors can advise people on private benefits as well. The primary expertise of the benefits counselors is specific to all things Medicare. So Medicare Parts A, B, C, D, Medicare preventive health benefits. Benefits counselors can also help people apply for Medicare savings programs, which can help out with Medicare premiums, co-pays, deductibles. They can also help with applications for Medicare low-income subsidies. Benefits counselors can also discuss Medicaid services as well, advise people about private long-term care insurance policies, and so on. Case management, I'm going to be talking about that in more detail as I discuss services for caregivers. The preventive health workshops, again, those will vary quite a bit from one AAA region to another. But in North Central Texas, the preventive health workshops that we offer are A Matter of Balance, which is a fall prevention program. We're just in the process of launching Tai Chi for arthritis and fall prevention. We offer chronic disease self-management workshops. We offer diabetes self-management workshops. And we also offer chronic pain self-management workshops. Other parts of the state may offer different programs. And then the long-term care ombudsman program is responsible for advocating for people who live in nursing facilities or assisted living facilities. The ombudsman program can also provide objective information to help prospective residents or family members make decisions regarding placement. So we can't recommend specific facilities, but we can and do share information about, which facilities participate in the Medicaid program, which ones have had better survey results, which ones might be equipped to care for somebody who requires memory care or wound care or so on. So with that as background, again, where I want to put my primary focus this morning is on AAA services for family caregivers. And we at the Area Agency on Aging level have a lot of discretion to determine the types of services that we'll offer to family caregivers. Kind of the more common services that would be offered, and in fact, all of these services that I'll describe are available through the North Central Texas Area Agency on Aging. Those can include information and referral. We can offer workshops on caregiving topics. So we're delighted that Marty Mascari and Mascari Corporation is one of our subrecipients. And so many of the workshops that he coordinates, including today's, is funded in part through our agency. We offer case management programs for caregivers. Again, I'm going to go into some additional information about the kinds of things that we can do through case management. We offer respite care for caregivers. And I think that's probably one of the services that is most widely available, not only in the state of Texas, but my guess would be other states as well. We in North Central choose to fund caregiver counseling. I'll talk a little bit about that. And Robin is going to be talking about a counseling program as well. We are able to offer ongoing education and support to caregivers, and we do that in North Central Texas. And then we also make benefits counseling available to family caregivers as well. Information and referral is a service that's provided over the phone. We respond to the needs of callers, caregivers of older adults, again, young adults with severe disabilities, grandparents raising grandchildren, and to the very best of our ability, we help those caregivers find and access social and health services. So the most common requests that we would get would be for information on in-home services, respite, transportation, public benefits, home modifications. Now, we get calls from people who are looking for food pantries or subsidized housing and so on. One of the subrecipients who has been funded through our agency since 2001 is Xanda Hilcher, and she has developed this website on our behalf called Family Caregivers Online, and it's probably the website address is probably too small to be easily read, but it's familycaregiversonline.net. Just a lot of information about different conditions and resources and links and training opportunities as well. As I mentioned, today's workshop is actually funded through our agency and coordinated by Mascari Corporation, but we do a lot of workshops on different caregiving issues. And in almost all cases, those are coordinated by our partner organizations. And some of our partner organizations do include the Alzheimer's Association. I'll talk more in just a few minutes about some other programs that we are excited to support through the Alzheimer's Association. And again, you'll be hearing from Robin in just a few minutes. Topics really cover the waterfront. So they can include legal issues, finding resources, dealing with stress. In the past, we've done programs on the ARD process. Marty and his expert speakers cover a lot of dementia topics. So if you're not currently on Marty's distribution list, I believe you will be after today, correct, Marty? He kind of adds people to his distribution list as he goes along.
That is correct. That's correct.
So again, one of the things that I'd like to do today is give you additional information on the case management programs that North Central Texas makes available to qualifying family caregivers. Again, qualifying family caregivers can be people who care for people age 60 and over, people age 55 and over who are caring for young adults with severe disabilities, or people age 55 and over who have primary custody of minors under the age of 18 who are not their biological children. So the case management program provides temporary service. In North Central Texas, the common term of service is somewhere between 3 and 5 months. In other parts of the state, it may be shorter or longer duration. And through the North Central case management program, we can do things like provide medical equipment and supplies that aren't covered by insurance. So the most common types of medical equipment and supplies that we would pay for would be medical equipment for the bathroom. So we do a lot of elevated toilet seats and transfer benches and shower chairs, handheld shower nozzles, grab bars. We can and do work with people who are uninsured, and we may be buying them wheelchairs or walkers. We do have a limit on our budget. Typically, we would be able to spend up to $1,000 on the equipment. We also have the ability to do minor home modifications, and most of the modifications that we do are intended to improve accessibility. So we do a lot of wheelchair ramps. We will widen bathroom doorways to make them more accessible to people who may be using wheelchairs or walkers. We can install handrails. The budget for that minor home modification program is capped by the state of Texas, no more than $5,000. So in most cases, that's not going to be sufficient for us to do a full-blown modification of the bathroom where we would be taking out a bathtub and installing a walk-in shower. Most of what we do is kind of lower budget. Recently, we've had quite a bit of success with doing cutouts to bathtubs, which makes the tub more accessible, safer to use. without going to the expense of a full-blown bathroom modification. We can provide temporary in-home services. So those services can include homemaker or housekeeping assistance. They can include personal assistance or a combination of both. And then we also have a respite program as well. We can provide one-time help with basic expenses. So in most cases, that's helping out with a utility bill. We can also help grandparents who are raising grandchildren with back-to-school supplies and clothing. So the nice thing about this program is the services are fairly flexible. The downside is that the services are temporary, and all of the services are kind of subject to budget caps. Another type of supplies that we would commonly purchase would be incontinence supplies. We can also do things like Boost or Ensure for people who may have difficulty getting all of their calories from solid food. And, you know, we work with a supplier who has an extensive kind of inventory of medical supplies. So those are kind of the basic services that we would make available through North Central Texas. As I mentioned, each AAA is a little bit different in terms of the services that they fund and the way they determine eligibility. These screening criteria are very specific to North Central Texas. So Dallas County, Tarrant County, Grayson, South Texas, East Texas, your local AAA will be different. But we ask a series of questions for people in North Central Texas. And of these 5 questions, we're looking for caregivers who would meet at least 3 of these 5 criteria. So we give priority to people who are caring for a person who is medically fragile or has special needs. We give priority to those who care for more than 1 dependent, so maybe 2 grandchildren, or maybe somebody who's caring for a child with IDD and also caring for a spouse or a parent with dementia. We also give priority to those caregivers who are the only source of support for that dependent individual. We give priority to those who are really struggling with their caregiving. Maybe they're having physical problems, maybe they're dealing with depression. Maybe, we often assist caregivers who are women who are caring for spouses or other relatives who are much larger than they and need assistance with transfers. Oh my goodness, if you're, a 5-foot woman who weighs 90 pounds, it's, in at least 2 ways, it's a heavy lift caring for somebody who needs assistance with all of their activities of daily living. We also give priority to those who are caring for somebody who's been through a recent change in their health status. So somebody who may have developed behavior issues related to their health condition, or somebody who cares for a person who's been in a rehab facility or the hospital recently. We also give priority to those who have incomes at or below 150% of the poverty level. It is important to keep in mind that folks don't have to meet all of these screening criteria. Again, at North Central, they just have to meet any 3 of these 5. Respite care, again, that's one of the most commonly available services that area agencies on aging fund, and that is a flexible but limited benefit that either uses agencies under contract with the AAA to provide services, or in North Central and other AAAs, we also have the voucher option so that we can give caregivers vouchers and they can use those to pay friends or family who don't live in the home. They can use the vouchers at adult day activity programs, daycare facilities, summer camps. We've had parents of children with severe disabilities who have used the vouchers to pay for therapeutic horseback camp. So again, the nice thing about the respite benefit is it's quite flexible. The downside is that the dollar benefit is fairly limited. One of the services that area agencies on aging can provide to caregivers is counseling. And in North Central Texas, we have 2 partners for caregiver counseling. They include the Wellness Center for Older Adults in Plano, which offers individual and group caregiver counseling. And this is available to, again, any of those caregivers who would qualify. Caregivers of older adults, caregivers of people with dementia, people age 55 and over, caring for young adults with severe disabilities, and people age 55 and over who are caring for minors other than their biological children. Robin is going to be talking about the counseling through the Community for Permanent Supported Housing, so I won't steal her thunder. Then we also offer ongoing education and support, and a couple of programs that I'd like to focus on are through James L. West and the Alzheimer's Association. So James L. West offers the Stress Busting for Family Caregivers program that brings together small groups of caregivers, usually somewhere between 8 and 12 people, 1 day a week for 9 weeks. Currently, the service is being provided remotely, and it provides education on topics that include stress, managing difficult behaviors, dealing with grief, loss, depression, coping strategies, positive thinking, and taking care of yourself. Then we also fund the Alzheimer's Association, the North Central Texas chapter, which offers its resources for enhancing Alzheimer's caregiver health, or REACH. And that's a program that pairs a dementia educator with the family caregiver and provides information about the disease process and helps the caregiver problem solve around any challenging behaviors, wandering, not wanting to take a bath, getting agitated or combative. The Alzheimer's Association has dementia educators who can provide the service in both English and just within the last few months rolled out the program in Spanish as well. So great program. Benefits counseling, I talked a little bit about that. I would like to share a little bit more information about benefits counseling for family caregivers. So as I mentioned, the primary focus would be on Medicare and helping people apply for Medicare savings programs, low-income subsidies. But the program does provide information about other public benefits, including Social Security and Medicaid. And the program does have limited funds to help pay for consultations with attorneys on kind of a limited scope of work. So most of what we fund through attorneys would fall on the short list. So typically it would be guardianships, powers of attorney, wills, and qualifying income trusts that help people with incomes just over the Medicaid limit become financially eligible for Medicaid long-term care. I would like to mention one kind of under-recognized benefit for custodial grandparents, and that is the one-time TANF benefit for grandparents. It's a one-time payment in amount of $1,000 to grandparents who are taking care of their grandchildren, do not live with the grandchildren's parents. They have to be at least 45 years old. Their grandchildren have to be approved for TANF, and they have to have incomes below 200% of the federal poverty rate. So in case we have any custodial grandparents joining us today, or if you all as professionals can help spread the word to grandparents, please do so. I would like to mention an exciting newish program to our agency, and these services have been available only since September of last year. We were fortunate to receive a federal grant through the Administration for Community Living. And we have kind of organized services for people with dementia and their family caregivers under the name of Dementia Friendly North Central and East Texas. So several new services that help family caregivers understand dementia, manage dementia. We are also making available case management for people with dementia and their family caregivers, although we're doing that for the 14-county North Central Texas area. We also are offering workshops for families of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities who have dementia or are at risk of developing dementia. And later this year, probably somewhere in the late spring, early summer, we will be announcing those workshops, and they're going to cover a lot of topics, including IDD and dementia signs and symptoms, getting an accurate diagnosis, caring for somebody who has dementia, caring for yourself, promoting brain health, and finding resources. So more to come in the next few minutes. I already talked a little bit about the REACH program, but again, just a reminder that that service is available. It's available in the 14 North Central Texas counties. It's also available in Tarrant County, in Dallas County, and into East Texas as well. So if we have anybody joining us from the greater Tyler or Longview areas, these services are available in your area as well. And one of the things that we wish to do is determine how well the REACH program works for family members who are caring for persons with IDD and dementia. So Robin has helped us kind of spread the word about that. But if you all know of anyone who is caring for, again, a young adult with IDD and dementia, please get in touch with us. There are services that are available right now, and then we've got other services that are in the pipeline. This is a really important but under-recognized topic, and it's really hard for family members as well as professionals to recognize and accurately diagnose it. And with some conditions such as Downs, there is a greater risk of developing dementia. Not everybody with Downs will develop dementia, but again, the risk is greater, and it tends to develop at earlier ages, about 20 years prior to peers who don't have intellectual and developmental disabilities. I would like to say just a quick word about coordination with insurance. So area agencies on aging can't pay for services that are covered by insurance, such as Medicare or Medicaid. If somebody has Medicaid, he should be eligible for primary home care, may be eligible for waiver services. We wouldn't pay for respite or in-home services to somebody who has full Medicaid benefits and is already receiving in-home services. But it is important to keep in mind that Medicaid doesn't pay for much, if anything, when it comes to caregiver services. The same holds true for Medicare. If anybody on this webinar is caring for somebody who has Medicaid, please give us a call. And what we would try to do is connect with any services that would be funded by that other insurance. But if it's not covered by insurance, then we would have the ability to provide those services. If you all are in the state of Texas, and I think most of you are, there's a toll-free number, 1-800-252-9240. The voicemail prompt would ask for your zip code, and then it would route your call to the area agency on aging that serves your area. I want to take just a couple of minutes. I'm going to move very, very quickly through just a couple of slides, but I wanted to let you guys know about the Aging and Disability Resource Centers. And the entire state is covered by 28 area agencies on aging. We are funded by the state of Texas to provide information about long-term services and supports, including but not limited to Medicaid waiver services. We also have respite programs that are not limited by age. So let's assume that there's somebody on this call who needs respite care. They don't qualify for any of those area agency on aging caregiver programs. They're not receiving services through Medicaid, Medicaid waiver. The Aging and Disability Resource Center has a similar respite program. And so what we try to do at North Central is find a way to say yes. So based on the situation, we start screening people to determine if they might qualify for case management services. If not, then we start asking a different series of questions to see if we can get them qualified for respite through the Aging and Disability Resource Center. There's a different toll-free number, which is 855-937-2372. Again, it would ask for a zip code to be entered, and then it would route the call to the local Aging and Disability Resource Center. This is my contact information, and I've provided you a link to our area agency on aging website, where you can find more information about our dementia friendly initiative. I've also provided a link to our caregiver services that will go into these eligibility requirements and service array in more detail. Also provide contact information for other partner organizations I haven't talked about this morning. And then the last link is to our Aging and Disability Resource Center website. So, okay, I am running long. So I think without further ado, I am going to again introduce my partner in crime, Robin LeoGrande with the Community for Permanent Supported Housing.
Thank you, Donnie. I will go over these slides very briefly. You do have copies of these slides in your mailbox, and I encourage you to take a look at these and contact us if you have any questions. Very briefly, Community for Permanent Supported Housing started back in 2011. Our focus is on assisting Texans with disabilities and their families and caregivers find a path toward independence, whether that is through living on their own in the community, or whether that is continuing in the family home. We know that people with disabilities are much more capable than what a community may perceive, and we want to focus on more independence for them to lead their best lives and to reach their goals. Our mission is voice, choice, and path. Regarding people with disabilities, we want to hear from them, we want to give them options, and we want to help them with their life goals. We are primarily serving 12 counties and have directly served about 800 families in the past year. Here's the website for our organization, and it's on the bottom of each slide, and we would like you to sign in to the website when you have a moment to see all the services that are available. Next slide. Finding Independence by CPSH is our services division. So our services division includes providing training, resources, and consultation to assist parents and grandparents to ease the burden of caring for their loved ones with disabilities, and to assist people with disabilities and their families in increasing access to supported services and community-based, safe, affordable housing options throughout their lives. We serve people with disabilities, neurodiversity, and physical disabilities through many of our programs. And we take pride in respecting you and your family's traditions and values to customize the suggestions that we offer. We are experts in the functional aspects of more independence. we really want you to feel free to give us a call. Sign up for a 15-minute call to request some free consultation to understand a little bit more about what you need and how we can help you. There is a link here with a brief form to help you get your ideas out on the form, and we will give you a call back within a couple of days to talk a little bit more about what your needs are regarding someone you know with a disability and how to help them achieve a more independent life. Jackie Sylvie is responsible for this consulting service, and she will be contacting you directly after you fill out the very short form for your discovery call. Next chart, please. Another area that's very important to us is making sure that caregivers in North Central Texas have a good idea of what they can do to help themselves emotionally and physically, as well as helping the person they care about. And this particular project is funded by the Area on Aging in North Central Texas under Donnie's direction. And we actually have a workshop on Sunday, February 5th. There's a link on the left-hand side of your slide to register. This workshop is free, helping people across North Texas to establish a path for independence with the input from their loved ones, their children, their grandchildren. And this one happens to be focused to African-American caregivers, but we also have people of all backgrounds, races, positions in life attending these workshops, and we really hope you will be able to attend it. Again, it's free. And then after that workshop, Kiki, our licensed professional therapist, will provide personal counseling for people who attend this workshop to help them through some of the more difficult paths of caregiving, personal issues related to caregiving, and also caregiving of a person with a disability. It's all private, confidential, and she just has so many resources available to help you be more successful in your caregiving and feeling better about your work as a caregiver. Next chart, please. Here is some feedback from a couple of the workshops that we've had. It was awesome for me. I'm just beginning this process and feel like I have enough info, resources, and options to take care of our family moving forward. And it's a very comprehensive program to assist for the special needs of my grandson. So again, our most popular course, able to present it through the Area on Aging to a wider population in North Texas. Next slide, please. We also have a collaboration with Texas Workforce, and I'm not going to go through this in too much detail, but for students of ages 14 to 22 and their parents or grandparents, Texas Workforce Commission pays for the work for this. It's a My Independence Action Plan to help youth put a plan together to become more independent in the community. Very popular program and very positive feedback. Next chart, please. We also have 2 guides that are available on Amazon for people in the Texas and people in the United States. So if you're interested in something that is more life cycle focused, this plan might be a good option for you. Next chart, please. And then we are looking at more services. We have some videos and some in-person training. We have some courses on learning how parents and property owners can set up and run a home for people with disabilities. And we have some individual family assistance. Our newsletter comes out on a monthly basis and describes all of the services we have available. So I would suggest you subscribe to that if you want to keep up with what we're doing. Next chart, please. And then Donnie spoke of the dementia-friendly North Texas and East Texas program. We are a partner in that agency to provide the information sessions. We are a subject matter expert in developing the series in terms of training for caregivers and professionals of people with IDD. And we contribute IDD information, life cycle information, self-advocacy, independence, housing behaviors, and personal goals and communication input to the course content. We'll be assisting in promoting the training sessions, and we will be participating in the sessions to offer assistance and resources. We are also increasing our staff of certified trainers on IDD and dementia to ensure that we are able to help counsel the people who are interested in this program. Next chart, please. Final chart is our contact information. Please reach out to Jackie at her email address or the phone number, or myself at the email address. And don't forget that discovery call. That's your first step. Sign up for our newsletter, and I'd be glad to answer any questions. Thank you, Donnie.
Thank you, Robin.
Donnie, can we advance to slide 1? And what I'll do is go over the CEUs again.
Yes.
When you guys are looking over the questions in the chat and this Q&A, if that's all right. For those of you that are joining us today for CEUs or for looking for a certificate of attendance, today we are providing CEUs for licensed social workers and licensed professional counselors in the state of Texas. If you have a different license in Texas or you are licensed outside of Texas, you're more than welcome to go through the process, get the certificate, and submit it to your jurisdiction. Please know there's no guarantee that they will accept that. Today's webinar is worth 1 hour of CEU credits. In order to qualify, you must have attended the entire webinar. You must also complete the Google evaluation survey. That should pop up as you close out of Zoom. If it doesn't, I realize companies have pop-up blockers. You will also receive that in a follow-up email after today's webinar. The Google survey will be available for 1 week, and then if you'll give me 2 weeks after that to get those certificates to you. And then, Robin, could I get you to email me the link to where people sign up for your newsletter, and I will include that in the follow-up email as well.
Sure.
Now, I'll also include a link to your website, but I would like to include the email sign up if I could.
Okay.
So, Donnie, if you'll just advance it one more time, we'll leave it there,
Yes.
and you guys can answer.
Okay, I believe that's the last slide. Should I stop my screen share?
Oh, if you stop it, it should go. Yeah, you might stop it if it's stuck.
Okay, and I do see a question. I'm not sure the answer. I'll have to do some research. I'm not sure if the one-time TANF payment requires a special application or just a regular application with a note attached. I'll have to confer with my benefits counseling colleagues. Robin, did you see the question about CPSH and kind of figuring out? Let me close this out.
Yes, I answered it.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. All righty. Let me see. Yes, there was a question about whether we can do a workshop for service coordinators, and yes. Okay, let me go back here. Okay. Can you elaborate about transportation services? So as I mentioned, transportation is not a service that the state requires area agencies on aging to fund. In North Central, we do. And again, keep in mind that North Central does not include Tarrant County or Dallas County. We contract with either public transportation authorities, so agencies like Star Transit or SPAN, Senior Center Resources, Public Transit Services, City of Cleburne, Our transportation is within the county. It's demand response. It's scheduled in advance, up to 2 weeks prior to that appointment. And since it is funded under the Older Americans Act, riders would have to be at least 60 years old in order to qualify, and they'd have to fill out a little bit of paperwork prior to the first ride. Okay. Thank you. Somebody said that her mom had a tub cot out, worked well. Modification lift chairs for stairs for a visually impaired person who still resides at home. So that is equipment that would be beyond the budget of the North Central Texas Area Agency on Aging. Typically, our equipment would be $1,000 or less. Last time I priced a stair lift, it was about $10,000. So based on my research, the only program I found that might be able to do that that staircase lift was the independent living program, which has a long wait list. The independent living program is administered through the Centers for Independent Living. References if I want to adopt a grandchild. I believe Texas Legal Services may have prepared a kind of resource book for grandparents. So let me do some research on that. And okay. All righty. I think those were the only questions that were specific to my content. So again, I'll do some research on that resource book for grandparents raising grandchildren, and then the application process for the one-time TANF benefit.
Donnie, if you find a link to that, as you're doing that, if you send that to me, I'll
Okay.
include that in the follow-up
deal.
email as well.
Okay.
That would be great. Anything else? Did you have anything else you'd like to add, Robin?
Just everybody, please contact us through the links that Marty's going to send out, and get involved. We'd love to have you. We'd love to explain what we do and see if we can help you. Thank you.
You'll also receive in the follow-up email links to webinars we have coming up. But at the bottom of all of my emails, you'll see a link to our YouTube channel, and we have recordings of most of our past webinars on there. If you're looking for information on a topic or further information, both the recording and then if you look under the recording, you'll see a link to the presenter slides for that recording as well. Donnie, if you want to close it out.
Thank you all for joining us. Stay warm and dry.
Bye. Thank you all. Have
Bye.
a great day.